I've been recently giving a lot of talks, and every time I come back from a talk, I'm sitting down and I'm thinking, well, what if I was on the other side of the, on the other side of the table, and what is that I actually, what would I have gotten out of my speech? And you can talk a lot of cool things about scaling to $100 million in revenue, but I'm really glad that that's not what I'm talking about today. It's when I was in college, and when I was struggling a little bit, I went to my advisor, and I'm talking to him about all these issues that I'm having, in different aspects of life, and I'm at Yale. You can actually, it feels like that you're the only one who's actually in. It's very easy to feel that you're the only one who's actually struggling the most. But he said something to me that I'll actually never ever in my life forget. And he said, Ahmed, in your life, you have no idea. I can't tell you this right now, but you have no idea how many other people there are around you, your friends that I can't name, your peers that are struggling way more than you are. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking that I wish there were other people who actually talk to me about their failures, because to actually negate a failure in your life, there's nothing better than talking to someone who's actually been through it. Having studied history at Yale, that's something that I've actually really applied in my life, where every time I actually go into a deal, every time we have to take a very hard decision, I sit down and I tell myself and I tell my colleagues that there's someone 1,000 years back who was in a similar situation. He probably wasn't selling a phone. He probably didn't own Facebook, but he had to make a similar decision. And learning from their failures, talking about them, I don't think there's a better remedy than that. I mean, one of the things that has actually transformed, there are a lot of failures running my company. You have to have them. I mean, one of the biggest mistakes probably I made when I started at GSM Nation was that I'd never invested in my core talent. Some of the people who started the company with me 6 months or 8 months down the line, due to a pay raise or whatever it was, I never invested in them, and some of them left. And although we have scaled to a very big number, I still sit down sometimes think how things would have been very different had I not been able, had I been actually able to sort of rectify that mistake. So I'm very forefront. I think in the last year or two, I've been very forefront in actually telling a lot of my colleagues that mistakes are the most important things that can actually ever happen to you. You can never get anywhere without insecurity. If you actually read about people like Steve Jobs and a few other people, it's their insecurity that actually made them get to where they actually were. That's just how it works. Having said that, it was and what's really interesting about when you talk about insecurities and fears, it's having been an immigrant, having immigrated from Pakistan in 2004. As an immigrant entrepreneur, you have some really interesting insecurities. One of the fears is, hey, are these guys going to let me back into the country? I mean, should I even be leaving the country? Stuff like this. But but these are sort of things that really, really make you dig down deep inside you and make decisions that will actually have a very long-lasting effect. And I'm going to keep this short, but I just want to tell you that I think someone said that behind the you only see these press releases about us, and you're sitting down and thinking, oh my God, this is just pretty awesome. There's a lot more that goes on behind that. We make really silly mistakes every day. It's incredible, day in, day out. But these mistakes are really, really important. What's more important than making a mistake is to make sure that you actually, take steps so that these things don't happen again. But all I like to say is that mistakes are at the core of any successful business. Thank you.